welcome here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. We are here inside the Travel Great Lakes Honda City Studios. I don't get to sleep in my own bed for the best of reasons. It's called chasing your dreams and more than anything, believing in the Lord. So we are here in the Great Lakes Honda City Studios, and I am sitting next to Eric Poms, who I am grateful for, the CEO of the Orange Bowl Committee here, and everything that you get to do with the Capital One Orange Bowl. We met in passing last year, and then after we met, we continued to meet and cross paths. And I'm not saying this because we're on the air. You've been one of the nicest, most genuine people. You were introduced to me from Jim Phillips, who's a good friend of mine, the ACC commissioner. So I want to say, beyond everything else, thank you for how kind you've been to me. Thank you for your open communication, and that you kept your word and you had me at the Capital One Orange Bowl. And I want to shout out the people that keep their word, that are good people, kind people, and you make me feel like $1 million when we talk. So thank you for that, Eric. I do appreciate that.
Well, thanks for all you do for college football, for your audience beyond that. And it's an honor to be here, and you do great things. So good to see you again.
Good to see you too. Yeah. And it feels like it was a long time ago. It also feels like it was 5 days ago that we were in Miami for the national championship and the handoff ceremony to Vegas, and you standing on that stage speaking about all the success that came on and off the field. So now that you've had ample time to reflect, what you can say about the Capital One Orange Bowl of this past college football season, and the fact that that stadium that you're in for the Capital One Orange Bowl was hosting the national championship, and just what Miami and the surrounding area, how the entire experience went for your Orange Bowl committee as well as the city of Miami.
It's a great question. It was just, the kickoff to what was and still is an epic year in our marketplace. Since January 1, when the Capital One Orange Bowl game was played, it was a CFP quarterfinal featuring Oregon and Texas Tech. Kicked off. It's been a year. I grew up in Miami. I've never seen anything like this. The next day was the Florida Panthers playing the New York Rangers in the Winter Classic, and 17 days later was the 2026 CFP National Championship game. Shortly thereafter was the World Baseball Classic. After that was the Miami Open. Then became Formula One, and now there's this little thing called World Cup going on. And in 6 months, it's just been a dream for any sports fan out there. It's been great. But as it pertains to the Orange Bowl Committee, it was, a very special opportunity for multitude of reasons. One, any chance you have to have 2 CFP games in your marketplace is remarkable. Two, the Orange Bowl Committee had been the engine behind the 2021 CFP National Championship game, and then COVID came around, and they did play it. But it obviously changed the dynamic. There weren't any events around, the game itself. There just couldn't be. And in a very reduced, limited stadium capacity, the game was played between Alabama and Ohio State. And we were very proud of that because we got through it with the CFP team. And we just, in the aftermath, asked them, whenever the opportunity comes, can you please come back? Because we wanted the full opportunity. And so when it came back, there was so much excitement, and nobody knew what the game was going to be. And candidly, with all the events I just recited to the audience here, World Cup is amazing. I mean, I've been to a couple games in Miami. I'm going this week when Norway plays England, and it's just remarkable to go to those games. With that being said, when this bracket was, announced for last year's CFP National Championship game, and the game started playing out, when it ended up being Miami and Indiana, I'm digging my memory bank and all the places I spoke, and I was there with all the different sports entities, including the World Cup host committee. I don't know anybody could ever top what that night was and that weekend was, because first of all, Miami had been, such a power, and 25 years went by before they got back into the national championship game. So you had that in the local marketplace, and then you combine that with Fernando Mendoza is from Miami,
Yeah.
and just
Yeah.
a story that the entire city was following for the whole year, because as great of a area that Miami and South Florida is when it comes to football, Miami itself had never produced at a high school a Heisman Trophy winner, believe it or not, and he was the first. And so it was just the confluence of these two things coming together, and it just was an epic experience. So great feeling. It was a lot of work for the years leading up to it, and we're starting now 6 months later to feel like
Yeah.
we're getting our feet underneath us. It was just a special opportunity, and I grew up in Miami, as noted, and it was really remarkable to see the community experience that.
Well, and like you said, I mean, it's and as I mentioned, my faith, I cannot undercut in any way, shape, or form when all these poetic things just line up. And then another thing that lined up was the day after the national championship. Here we are at the hotel, and we're having the final press conference, the champions press conference with Fernando Mendoza in Indiana. And right after that, within a half an hour, we're having the handoff ceremony between Miami and Las Vegas. You're standing up on stage for that, handing it off to Vegas. And I said this to Rich Clark, the executive director of the college football playoff. I said, Rich, there's no way that Fernando Mendoza passes in a hallway with Sandra Douglas Morgan, the president of the Las Vegas Raiders, and she doesn't say to him, I'll see you in 3 months, because they're going to draft you. So that's another component that just so
Yeah.
happened to happen, which I say is divinely kind of intervening in a way.
Yeah, those are moments and you go like, can you believe? I mean, as you're saying that, I never thought of that. I do connect the dots of what you're saying. I was there.
Yeah, she had to have at
Um,
least winked at him.
well, it's incredible. His father is a prominent doctor in the marketplace. I didn't know him, but several of our Orange Bowl committee members knew him, and I met him.
Yeah.
His dad at an event, and had a chance to visit with him. And before all the fanfare of the build up to the Heisman, kind of got insight into the story, and just real testament to, if you stay the course and you have a passion, who knows where life's going to take you. And coming out of high school, I think he was recruited by Ivy League schools. I think California came in fairly late, and then here we are 5 years later,
Yeah.
and he is the face of college football, and it's remarkable. I mean, it was earned. Every
Yeah.
bit of it was earned. So
And for you to be a part of this, and when we look at the Orange Bowl committee going beyond just the Capital One Orange Bowl, when a host city is chosen for the college football playoff, how involved do you get to be in? I mean, obviously, if for nothing else, they're going to want to hear from you. Where do we how do we look at this? What are some ideas? Never thought in my life that I would be on a yacht. I'm a blue collar kid. My company was started with 27 cents in my pocket, $103 in my bank account, living with my grandmother so that I could make sure she didn't have to go to a nursing home, the woman who raised me, now I'm raising, because I wanted to give back to her. I wanted to give her the amazing life that she gave me.
Yeah.
So when I look at my humble beginnings, I never thought I'd be on a yacht. And yet here I am on a yacht the night before, and there's fireworks just for us.
Yeah.
I'm broadcasting from South Beach, on the beach, in the sand, FaceTiming my parents who said, I want to be you when we grow up. So I don't know how you top it. I know Vegas is something special, and I've never been there
be
before,
great.
and I'm excited for that. And I want to give credit where credit is due. But I have to ask you where the Orange Bowl committee is in that entire week of events that really genuinely will never not be something on my mind. And I have to say, to the credit of South Beach, to Miami, to the surrounding communities, Dade, everything, I don't know an experience that I'll ever be able to equally parallel to what I was able to do. And so I'm thankful for it. I'm grateful to God for it. I'm grateful to the Orange Bowl committee. How involved do you get to be in that week?
Well, there's a distinction, when we put on the CFP quarterfinal at the Capitol and Orange Bowl.
Yeah.
We're more or less partners with the CFP in a promoter role.
Yeah.
And then for the national championship game, it's not really the Orange Bowl committee per se. It's a community-wide effort in our marketplace. The Orange Bowl committee is the lead entity for the host committee. It involves the Miami Dolphins and Hard Rock Stadium, all the venues where the events take place, government, convention and visitors bureaus. And the role of a host committee is to make it seamless for Rich Clark and the CFP team to come into the marketplace and put on the show at the highest possible level. And candidly, I was in Las Vegas before I came back to Miami, and I know many people in Las Vegas, and I have no doubt they're gonna do great. It's an
Yeah.
amazing city,
Yeah.
and I know the CFP team is already there, and they're gonna do great things as they always do. But for us, it was an opportunity to, our mission statement of the Orange Bowl going back, we go back to 1935. The mission statement's always been about economic development, bringing people to the marketplace so, business thrives. But it also is by virtue of the success of the bowl game to give back to the community. And we do that each and every year with all our Orange Bowl activities, not just the Capital and Orange Bowl, but everything we do. The uniqueness of last year's with the national championship game is through the CFP's Extra Yard for Teachers program. They have a foundation, and that's their program. We were able to start with 1.5 million that the host committee, invested with the CFP. We got, school boards that were partners with us to match our dollars that doubled it.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, we, historically, the Orange Bowl do legacy gifts. We go into underserved communities and we try to partner with the city or county to renovate a field. And that field can take on not just the field itself, but it could be a walkway around it, a track around it, bleachers, press boxes, lights, scoreboards,
Yeah.
and so forth. So we were able to, bridge one of those projects into the national championship game effort, combined with the CFP quarterfinal. And the unbelievable thing about that, which is not something that people would really hear too much about, is the park that was renovated was in Miami Gardens. So it was right down the street from Hard Rock Stadium.
Yeah.
It was named after a legendary high school coach, Walt Frazier, not the New York Knick, Walt Frazier, our Walt Frazier.
Yeah.
And I think it was at the the Goodyear Cotton Bowl when Miami played Ohio State, including Jeremiah Smith. There was 11 players on that field that came from that park. So when we did the ribbon cutting in the game, I think it was like 9 players were in the national championship game.
Yeah.
It was just remarkable because it comes full circle. I know people see the craziness that's on ESPN across the country and in the stadium, those that were there and so forth. But as we all know, there are stories that each one of the participants, the student athletes, bring with them.
Yeah.
And it just shows you, like, again, just like Fernando Mendoza, but they're growing up, and there's no fanfare growing up in that park. The field was half grass, half dirt when we came there.
Yeah.
And that's where these kids played. And then think about it, within a decade, they're playing at Hard Rock Stadium, which they could see in the shadows of that park,
Yeah.
for the national championship. And it's a touching moment, and it makes you feel good because there is a business aspect to everything we do. But to the CFP Foundation's credit, and also the host committee's, charitable mindset, you can do things like that. So it's cool.
What moment do you have in your life, or moments, where you were on a half grass, half dirt field, and now you are where you are today, and not necessarily literally, but figuratively to it, a moment where you said, I'm here doing this, there's no fanfare, there's nobody watching, and then look at where I've gotten to today. Give me one of those moments in your life.
Oh, I mean, and we all have those moments. I mean, I remember going back to my high school 28 years later after I graduated, and I started off on the JV team at this high school basketball, but I was not very good, so I became the manager. And I thought our high school was Madison Square Garden. I really did. I went back there, it was a pillbox. I look at it, I go, Man, I mean, your prism changes and so forth, and then you sit back and you think of the people
Hmm.
and the experiences. And as you get older, I'm 60 now, so you get reflective in your thinking,
Yeah.
and it is a journey. And I often think about the continuum in life, about what defines success. Certainly making a great living, and you can monetarily assess how you're doing on one end, and then there's the other end of the spectrum, which is how many people you have an opportunity to touch, and in so many ways. And I've been blessed. I really have. I never imagined staying in South Florida, choosing a career in intercollegiate athletics, and to come back to the Orange Bowl, where I grew up, and to not just work there, but it's a pretty charitably minded organization. You get to do both. You really get a chance to do the business side of things in an industry that I love, but there's give back in a significant, impactful way. So it's been pretty poignant.
There's 41 bowl opportunities, 82 teams. When we look at the Coca-Cola Bowl season, there's only 6 bowls of those 41 that are inside of the college football playoff. Why do you believe the Capital One Orange Bowl was put within the expansion of the college football playoff to always be either a quarterfinal or semifinal game? And why do you feel like you will continue to be no matter what?
Well, first of all, we work closely with everybody in Coca-Cola Bowl season. Every bowl game has its special place and so forth. And I believe in the abundance theory, that there's enough for everybody to thrive. And you could see it with the TV ratings, despite all the elements that's impacted postseason college football. Certainly this day and age has made its way down and had its impact, but people still watch.
Yeah.
Speaking on behalf of the Orange Bowl Committee and the Capital One Orange Bowl, we're proud of our history. We're proud to be in there with the Rose Bowl and Sugar Bowl and Cotton Bowl and Peach and Fiesta. And, listen, it's a celebration of what I believe is America's greatest sport. And listen, we're approaching a century in our history. And, if you, like I do, have the opportunity to walk through our office and every day be reminded of the coaches and the players and the moments, and you look at it, looking backwards over coming up to 93 years, it is remarkable. I mean, Tom Landry played in the Orange Bowl. Joe Namath played in the Orange Bowl. And I'm like, and I work here?
Yeah.
And, I just think that from, the historical standpoint, from the sense of we never look back in the past and say we deserve to be in there because of that. I think it's, working hard to each year delivering postseason football to now the CFP, to the two institutions that are in the game, at a high level. And we're hopeful that will continue for many, many years to come. It's amazing. Our mission statement has never changed since 1935. It has not changed. And it's remarkable in an ever changing world, in an ever changing community. I mean, Miami was a sleepy town in 1935. It was coming off the heels of a devastating hurricane that came in the late 20s, and then you had the Great Depression. And then they had this idea. They saw what was happening in California, Pasadena, with the Rose Bowl, and said, hey, why don't we start something? And here we are, and the relevancy is still there. Mission statements never changed, and the give back is pronounced. So we'll keep doing what we're doing. I know the other bowl games feel that way, and I hope that the month of December always will be a celebration of college football, and a way to bring a lot of these schools that are in campuses like Gainesville, Florida, where it's a small city in the state of Florida. They go to the major marketplaces and get a chance to showcase their brand and their teams and celebrate a great season.
And for you, being either a quarterfinal or a semifinal, obviously there's a difference. and that experience. But being in that rotation from last season now going into 2026-27, just how you navigate the college football playoff when change does happen. And then secondly to that, your thoughts on a 2014 playoff if it were to happen. I spoke with Rich Clark about it, and his conversation, I said, will there be more bowl games brought into this from bowl season, or will it be more campus sites? He said it'll be more campus sites is what they're leaning toward. So if it stays just the six and the Capital One Orange Bowl is a part of that, how do you navigate quarterfinal, semifinal now? And then what are your thoughts if we are to double the field?
Been in the Orange Bowl 33 years, so I would say that you learn to embrace change. College football is an amazing institution. We are absolutely honored and privileged to have our place in it. As mentioned a moment ago, we don't rest on the history and what that's been. It's more about how we can contribute and bring value to the commissioners and to the CFP management committee. So we embrace change. And listen, I came to the Orange Bowl in 1993, and it was just the beginning of the Bowl Coalition. 3 years later, it became the Bowl Alliance, and 3 years later, it became the Bowl Championship Series, which had four-year terms, and that ultimately graduated to be the College Football Playoff, which was 4 teams. And as we know, a couple years ago, 10 years into it, it became a 12-team model. And so, you learn that, hey, whatever the leadership of college athletics determines is the best course for college football, the college football playoff will be ready to go. As it relates to potential expansion, listen, they just did it, and so you adapt.
Yeah.
And our focus is to make sure the relevancy of what we do each and every year is sustained. And to do that, we got to just, whatever the model is, deliver at a high level.
Well, that being said, I'm going to flip the script and let you ask the questions. Rapid fire from Eric Poms. He's going to get to host the show right now. You can ask me any 3 questions, any topic. What do you have for me, Eric? And the one thing that David Epps said from the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl is to not ask my guilty pleasure TV show because he did that. But what 3 do you have for me?
Give me the 3 mentors in your life that have shaped your foundation with this program, and what guides you to this day.
My grandmother, that I call G Mama, so my mom's mom. She's the one that I mentioned I took care of so she didn't have to go to a nursing home. And so I would say, everything that she taught, she always said, keep your nose clean, be a good boy, pray to God. Very simple things, but her advice always worked. Not care about other people's opinions of you, good or bad, and to just stay true to who you are. So I would say she's definitely been an integral part of everything I do. I would say another mentor, Bob Beretta, who I met when he was the athletic director at Lemoyne. He allowed me the opportunity to be the only media person that covered the entire year of their transition from Division II to Division I. Never thought I'd be able to do that. One of the greatest moments in my life. And his connection with me, how he sees me, how he's treated me. Again, I don't know if I deserve it, but I value it tremendously, and I love our conversations and his level of support and just his leadership, his advice. He is the person he says he is, and I think that obviously has gone miles for me. And then I would say Tom DeSantis, my principal in elementary school, my Mr. Feeney, for a Boy Meets World reference. He was the one that in 1992, he was the one that told me both times when my grandfathers passed away, he was the one that delivered the advice or the news. And I to this day, I wouldn't have anybody else kneel down on the ground and tell me that my grandfather had passed away. And then again, when it happened that year, and he's been a light to me. He's been a guide and another person of faith, another person that has kept me grounded, and then also reminded me of who I am and how I'm different, and that could be a really good thing. He told me a long time ago, he said, this is not to boost your ego or anything of that. I'm not that type of person. He said, this is where Dan Tortora loves. This is where the world loves. This is where Dan Tortora feels pain because of that love, and this is where the world typically feels it. And he just said to me, like, it's okay to be different and to be where you are, and understand that because of how you love and how you treat people, you might feel this world differently, but it's not a bad thing. So I would say
Profound.
those three.
Yeah, that's great. You're lucky to have those guys.
I know.
Shift to your career.
Yes.
Okay, we're gonna do rapid fire.
Yeah.
Tell me the history of how you came up with this idea to start this program. Talk about its humble beginnings
Mm.
and how it's grown to where you've taken it today, which is, very, very successful.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
I would say, Wake Up Call, I wanted to have a morning show, and I wanted it to have two meanings. One, that we're on in the morning, but two, to be a wake up call, a call to action for me to learn from my guests and those listening and watching, and maybe to be able to teach something to impart knowledge and wisdom that I've learned. And then during COVID, I'm an advantageous person. So I went to John Granquist, who I went to Marywood University with. He's a great graphic designer. And I said, listen, I need to come out of COVID better than I went in. That's what I want everybody to do. So we're going to rebrand. And I wanted to come up with an idea. And so the sun rising out of the coffee cup, this is his design
Love it.
that he worked on with
Yeah, that's
me.
good.
And I said, I want something I could put on a hat, walk through an airport, and have somebody look at it like an NFL logo and say, what the heck is that? Like, I like it. I'm drawn to it. And to John's credit, he brought to life even better than what I had expected. But the humble beginnings of the show were, I was on traditional radio. I was 26, and I had worked for a boss, and I was told, hey, if you do X, Y, and Z, I was Saturday, Sunday morning, 7 to 9 a.m. And I raised by myself $30,000 in sponsorships.
No going out and partying on Friday or Saturday night at
no,
all.
no. And so we had raised $30,000 for this early morning show. I had stretched the bounds of the show, and they told me, hey, if you do certain things, we're going to make you a 5-day show Monday through Friday. And I went to them, I wrote a contract, and they laughed in my face and said, we're going to keep you where you're at. And I was at a point in my life where I had said, I've worked for a lot of people that maybe don't like that I believe in God. I'm not your traditional media person. I have been lied to, and I haven't been given the opportunity that if I hold up my end of the bargain, will they hold up theirs? So at 26 years old, I looked myself in the mirror and said, you've worked at a place where you said, when are you going to be Dan Tortora again? You've worked in a place where you felt like you couldn't necessarily say God, and you've been in a place where somebody's word held no value. So are you going to go and do the unthinkable, or are you going to keep doing this? And I've always been the person that if I say to God, hey, look, there's a laid path, the cement's down, the gravel's down, like, let's go. He'll look at a forest and go cut through that and build a road for somebody else. So the humble beginnings were going to the internet when people said it was crazy, it was stupid, nobody knew what podcasting was, it's never going to succeed. How are you going to find sponsorships? I had other media people say that I'm a sham, I'm a fraud, I'm not a real business. And that's how I started. And then those people that said those things about me tried to steal the blueprint of my company, of my show. And I was upset until I realized you can build the car, but you'll never have the driver. So the humble beginnings were do what nobody else is doing. And then during COVID, everybody had to play in my atmosphere. And so I can say, I've never been a trend follower. I've been a trend starter. I haven't tried to be, but I am that person that will say to God, here are my dreams and my aspirations. And then he says, buckle up, but you're going to have to go to places where you're creating things like Commissioner Corner, speaking with commissioners all over the country. No one's doing that. To the plan that I've implemented with colleges and universities in a multimedia marketing partnership that nobody else is doing, to now a conference partnership that has been bred out of that individual college and university to now for entire conference. And we're going to be announcing something soon that nobody's doing coast to coast. And I just challenge myself to be unique, to be original, to be different. And I've never lived in a world of do what somebody else is doing better. It's do the thing that nobody else is doing and show them how to do it. And 22 years later, we're still rocking, Eric. So happy to be here.
That's awesome. Great story.
Thank you, sir.
I got a third question.
You got a third one.
I can go down a lane of one type of product or another. I'll keep it rated G
Okay.
for this show and ask you your top 3 go-to ice cream flavors for the audience.
Number 1, chocolate chip cookie dough, because I just love it, something fierce. And then I would say I did a mix when I had my tonsils out and I could only eat like ice cream and a few other things. Black raspberry with caramel sauce.
Ooh,
Makes
okay.
no sense together. It tastes fantastic. And my last one would be, man. Well, I'll say this, as a card-carrying Italian Hispanic, I will walk into a place, and if you can't make a good taco or a good cheese slice, you need to shut it down. So I'm going to say, for my other thing, I will go to a new place that I've never been to with ice cream, and I want your twist. And that first bite, number 1, how do you spin it? Do you put that, do you get that hook right when you're handing it to me? And then is your twist going to be something that I'm going to come back for? So I'm going to say I will test the traditional twist wherever I go. Maybe I'll dip it in something, but I'll test it.
Sounds like you had experience with this in your lifetime.
And the funny thing is that you ask me these questions that I'm not prepared for, and I don't. But this is, my brain works in the moment of like, ask me the question about how I'm going to survive on an island, and I'll just start rattling stuff off. I blame God for giving me ideas. But Eric Poms, the CEO of the Orange Bowl Committee, and of course overseeing the Capital One Orange Bowl and so many things in Miami and beyond Miami in this beautiful Orange Bowl world that we get to live in. Eric, I had a dream come true when I asked if I could come to the Capital One Orange Bowl. You said we'll see you there, and months later you lived up to that word. And I hope that you know now that you're stuck with me. I hope that's
Keep
okay.
coming. We love it. Be great.
Thank you for everything.
Okay.
I appreciate you.
Thank you. Appreciate